doing something a little different this Friday. We're going to go inside Kentucky sports, and we're going to talk with Christy Thomas, who you know her, great sportscaster that she is with the SEC Network and BBN, and we're just so glad to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. I'm sad that we're talking about football season being over. That makes me very sad, and I count down the days.
Well, and we're already talking about next season,
I know,
right? Because
yes.
we learned that the schedule for next season. So before we talk about next season, okay, I want to hear what the Christy Thomas has to say about this season, the hits and the misses, and just what went wrong.
Well, I'm the eternal optimist when it comes to football. So I'm the one that always says we're going 12-0. We're going to make it to the SEC championship game. We're going to the NCAA, so all these things. To say this season it was a disappointment, I think, is definitely an understatement because there is a lot of expectation. And, I think with the success that you have as someone like Mark Stoops and what he's been able to do, there is some responsibility that comes with that. And now it is that we do all have a very high expectation of where we'll be and that we kind of get over the hump and get to the other side of it. So the SEC expanding to 16 teams and eliminating divisions did not make that any easier for Kentucky. So it is a really, really tough place to be, playing in the single toughest conference in the country, in my mind. It's not easy. And so you used to have these home and home opponents that you knew were out of your division that would always be the opponents you could count on. That's not the way it is anymore. So things have really kind of gone, okay, well, you have to finish 1-2 in the league in order to, and it could be two opponents that used to be in the West. It could be two that used to be in the East.
Right.
But it is a really, really tough schedule. And what the SEC did for 2025 for Kentucky was they just flipped. So it's the exact same schedule. So now instead of the home games that were at home and the away games, they've just now gone opposite. So it's going to look very similar to what you've seen this year.
Right.
They have just flipped it. So that means it's not going to get any easier. So the transfer portal is going to be Kentucky's friend. They're going to have to go really hard and heavy there. The offensive line, I think, was definitely a disappointment for Kentucky. They didn't necessarily have the consistent quarterback play that we really wanted to see. So, some guys are leaving early to go to the NFL, which we expected from the defensive side of things. So they are going to be looking to fill some voids. So, the transfer portal is tough because it's a double-edged sword. You're sad when you lose people. That definitely has happened with Kentucky with some wide receivers and some guys leaving that you hate to see go for sure. But at the same time, I think this is going to be where Kentucky has to roll up their sleeves. Mark Stoops has got to go to work. He has said multiple times in press conferences that he's ready to do that.
Right. And he said consistency is the key, right?
And it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do, especially when you're kind of re-recruiting guys and then you're bringing in new guys. So I think that's part of it is if you're looking for leadership, which is really what I think this team lacked this year was player-led leadership. And you go find that from the transfer portal. These are still new guys that are coming in and trying to figure an awful lot of things out and really have to be very strong-minded to try to be leaders in an environment that they're new in. It's not easy.
Yeah. Well, of course, BBN is disappointed because UK is not going to a bowl game, but yet U of L is. But what does this say about where Kentucky is and the whole landscape?
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's definitely disappointing. Kentucky had been 8 years in a row. That was a program record. So to not get to one, it is incredibly disappointing. And I promise you, no one's more disappointed than Mark Stoops and this team. The guys, no one wants to be on that team that didn't get to the postseason again. So it is definitely disappointing. But I do think it speaks to the state of football in Kentucky as the state as a whole, that Louisville was able to get back there. They have struggled. So, I think everyone that follows college football certainly knows the struggles that Louisville has had and knows where they've been. So they've got a great coach in place with Jeff Brom. So, I think they're to be commended. They're digging out. So, and they're on the right path and they're in the right direction. So really I think it means for football in Kentucky is let's keep the homegrown kids at home playing for our two home state schools and let's keep the talent here and let's keep this going because it's just good for football and they push each other. So it's a great way to end the season for one team and a really sour way to end the season for another team. So it depends on which side of that you're on. But it's a good thing for football.
Right. So we're going to press forward to basketball for all the Wildcat lovers. And so how is Mark Pope? Early reviews of him.
What's not to love?
Okay.
Right? I mean, what's not to love about this guy? I think that this is a scenario that has been such a great hire. I don't think anybody will argue that. It was a head scratcher initially, right? I think a lot of folks will admit that they were thinking, really, is this the right guy for the job? But there was a culture shift that really needed to happen within the program. And so I think that there was really only one right answer for that. And it had to be someone who knew what it was and what it meant to play there and be here, and what the expectation is of this fan base is enormous. And I think oftentimes it's hard to really understand that until you've lived it, and Mark Pope has lived it. So, to his credit, he's been able to come in here with a whole new roster. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to bring in a whole new roster of kids to play here? That was an incredible task. So he was able to pull that off, and now they're winning, and they're playing a brand of basketball that I think everyone wants to see, which is great. And I'd be remiss, Renee, if I didn't say that the women are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So Kenny Brooks was a great hire who is also changing the culture of the women's program, and he was no different. He brought in an entire new roster, only 2 returning players from the season before, and they're doing it as well too. They're playing an exciting brand of basketball. They're playing together. He is changing the culture. So these 2 programs are really mirroring each other in all the right ways.
What do you mean by changing the culture?
Yeah.
What are they changing it to, or trying to change it to?
This idea that you're playing for the name on the front of your chest versus the name on the back of your jersey. So, and not everybody's cut from that cloth. Not everybody wants to be able to do that. And kids these days are different. We all know.
Yeah, right.
Kids, teenagers are different. So you're really sort of pushing this agenda of can you really come in and be a great teammate? So even if you don't score your points, or if you're not in the stat box the way you want to be, can you come in and play and give it everything you've got? Because you cannot pull one over on BBN. We know what's up. We know whether you're playing hard. We know whether you're giving it great effort. And so really that's what this has become all about, is laying it all out every single time you play, but doing it because you want to play basketball at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, and you just summarize all of it so beautifully. Thank you, Christy Thomas.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
It's so much fun.
Oh, it's fun to be here.
We'll have to have you back when you get some time.
Anytime.
I don't know when you get some time, but we'll
no
make
one ever
time.
has time, right? But I love it. So I'd be back anytime. So
well,
thanks
happy holidays to you,
well.
dear.